What's up guys? Today we'll be solving some z-score questions. Before I show the questions, how do we solve z-score problems? First, let's start with the formula. Z-score equals x minus mean over the standard deviation. You will be seeing this a lot more later. And now, the normal CDF steps. This will be how we solve many z-score problems in the future. The first step is to list the normal distribution. This is shown by normal distribution, parentheses, mean, SD. More on that later. Second step, create and shade the normal curve. In this video, I will show the basics of the normal curve. Here, this is the curve. On this curve, this is the mean. Right in the middle. In many z-score problems, they ask about what is the chance to get above or below a number. It also sometimes asks, what is the chance to get between these numbers? This is where we shade. For example, if we want to find the chance to get above 3, we'd shade above 3. Now for the third step, finding the z-score. Showing calculations for this step is vital to get full credit on tests. More on that later. Fourth step. This is the step we gotta pull out our calculators. Once we find the z-score, we need to input it into NormalCDF. To get to NormalCDF on the calculator, click second, vars, and lastly NormalCDF. Now for the final step, the fifth step. Answer with context. The answer you get after using NormalCDF is the answer that you have to explain with context. Now that we've gone through the basics, let's move on to the question. At Largo Central Park, the distance walked by visitors during this day is approximately normal distributed with a mean of 500 meters and a standard deviation of 100 meters. From just a quick scan, we can already see a few important numbers. 100 is the standard deviation, and 500 is the mean of the normal distribution. Let's look at question A. What is the percentage of people at Largo Central Park that walk between 400 and 650 meters during their stay? This question wants us to use the 5 NormalCDF steps. First step, list the normal distribution. We already found the mean and standard deviation in the question, now we just have to write it down. Normal distribution, or N, parentheses 500, 100. Now for the second step, create and shade the normal curve. The mean goes in the middle, 500. Now we take a peek back at the question. We need to find the probability of people at Largo Central Park that walk between 400 and 650 meters during their stay. Since we're trying to find what is between two numbers, we will shade between those numbers. Now for the fun step, the third step. Finding the z-score. This is where the z-score formula comes into play. Since the question is asking for what is between two numbers, we need to find two z-scores. Alright, here's the formula. Let's input the information we know. We know the mean is 500, so that goes here. The standard deviation was also given. And now we place one of the two numbers in for x. Let's start with 400. Now that we have all those numbers needed to solve, grab a handy calculator and solve. This gives the answer -1. Now let's repeat the process for the second z-score. 500 mean, 100 standard deviation, and 650 meters here. And now solve. This gives us 1.5. This takes us to the first step, using NormalCDF on the calculator. On your calculator, click second, vars, and NormalCDF. Now we have to simply input the lower number, -1, and the upper number, 1.5. This will give us this answer. Now for step 5, we just have to answer with context. 0.774537517 of people at Largo Central Park are predicted to walk between 400 and 650 meters during their stay. That wasn't too bad, was it? Let's move on to the second question, question B. A person at the 90th percentile walked how far? This question uses InverseNorm. The question is asking for us to find what is the number at the 90th percentile. Let's place the known numbers into the z-score formula. 500 mean and 100 standard deviation. You might realize that we lack enough numbers to solve. This is where InverseNorm comes into play. InverseNorm will find the z-score for us. Alright, To get to inverse norm, click second, vars, and inverse norm on your calculator. Since it's asking for the 90th percentile, we will input 0.90 into the calculator, next to area. This gives us the z-score. Now we just have to solve for x. This gives us the answer. Now all you have to do is answer with context. A person at the 90th percentile is predicted to walk 628.1551567 meters during the stay at Largo Central Park. Alright, last question. Question C. What percentage of people walked over 650 meters during their stay at Largo Central Park? This question uses the 5 steps for NormalCDF. Just like before, list the normal distribution. N parentheses 500, 100. Now let's create the normal curve. The mean in the middle, 500. This time, the question is asking for the probability that someone walks over 650 meters at Largo Central Park. So, we shade past 650. Now, we have to find the z-score. 500 mean, 100 standard deviation, and 650 right here. This will give us 1.5. Fourth step, we will now use NormalCDF in the calculator. Unfortunately, there is an extra step here. Depending on if the curve is shaded left, right, or in the middle, we must input numbers into NormalCDF differently. Here is an easy way to remember. If the shade is to the left, -10 will be placed into the lower number. If the shade is to the right, the upper number will be 10. And if the shade is between two numbers, just like question 1, just input the two z-scores. Since for this question, the shade is to the right, we will do lower 1.5 and upper 10 in the calculator. This gives us this answer. Now for the last step, answer with context. 0.0668072287 of people at Largo Central Park are predicted to walk over 650 meters during their stay.
That's it. Thank you for watching.